Warm greetings from the High 10. Thank you for joining me. Hope you all had a safe weekend, Labor Day weekend. Please go to my community board for said breaking news and movie of the week. It's with utter disgust that I bring you this terrible news coming out of Memphis, Tennessee, pertaining to missing Memphis teacher Liza Fletcher. She has been confirmed deceased, and the perpetrator in this crime, Cleotha Abston, has been arrested for the kidnapping, formally charged with murder, appeared in court today, and will appear in court tomorrow on the said murder charges. This will be an all-inclusive live pertaining to the ID of the victim, one person's assertion that this is personal, possibly in connection with her uncle and the law firm where he works, and where victim number one of Abston also worked, a man that was kidnapped back in 2000 who is no longer living. I will try to bring forth information the best of my ability in what happened last Friday in Memphis. Was this an intentional target of Mrs. Fletcher? Did he know of the victim? Heard about the victim? Is this retaliation from the law firm, the lawyer who he kidnapped 20 years ago? Because it is very strange that her uncle works for the same law firm of the man kidnapped by Abston, who is her perpetrator in this kidnapping and now murder. Thank you for joining me. I will be playing different audios this afternoon and bringing you articles pertaining to the death of Liza Fletcher. The first information is CBS. Thank you for joining me.
Contributions toward this investigation. The collaboration and cooperation amongst all of our partner agencies was nothing less than symphonic. We are also very grateful for the hundreds of tips that came through our Crime Stoppers and other platforms from our citizens at large. Our engaged and supportive community is truly our most valued asset. Just remember that this still is an ongoing investigation. At this time, I would like to bring up FBI Special Agent in Charge, Doug Korneski.
Good morning. First and foremost, on behalf of the FBI, I want to extend the extreme sympathy and condolences of our office to the family and friends of Liza. While most of us did not know her prior to this tragedy, through the course of the recent investigation, we got a small glimmer into the light that she was to her family and friends and community.
Sorry about that brief intermission. I had no idea they were going to have commercials in this. Thank you so much for your patience.
Next, I just want to commend the immense collaborative efforts of the local, state, and federal law enforcement during this investigation. As the family knows, every possible resource that we had as a law enforcement community, to include the FBI, was brought to bear to both find Liza and her perpetrator and hold him accountable. And then simply lastly, I just want to thank the community for their support during this investigation, the many tips and leads that we received. We We are a member of this community as well, and this situation, this tragedy impacts us deeply as well. So with that, is what again I want to thank the community. Next, I will be followed by the Acting Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Ali Roberts from ATF.
First, on behalf of ATF, I'd like to extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends affected by this tragedy. No resources were spared to locate and arrest the individual responsible for this incomprehensible violent crime. ATF utilized resources such as assigning special agents, our canine, and utilizing the E-Trace database. We also utilize our expertise as we work with our state and local partners to bring about justice to the family and friends in reference to this tragedy. I would like to bring next U.S. Marshal Tyrese Miller.
Thank you. Good afternoon. On behalf of the United States Marshal Service, we certainly want to extend our sincere condolences to the family of Liza Fletcher, her friends and family, and those that knew her. As I understand it, she touched many lives, and it's certainly a loss. As I've said on numerous occasions, the Marshal Service has a very unique relationship with the Memphis Police Department. At any time they call, we're there to assist. We were glad to receive that call on Saturday when a suspect had been identified. We then went about finding the suspect vehicle in question, as well as the suspect himself. He was spotted, the vehicle was spotted in an apartment complex. And when he tried to make a move, we went in and made the arrest safely. And took him into custody and turned him over to the custody of the Memphis Police Department. And after that, we also participated in the search efforts to find Ms. Fletcher all day Sunday and all day Monday. And as has been stated, it was not the outcome we were looking for. We were dedicated and committed to continue those search efforts and assist our partners until she was found. Next, I will turn over to District Attorney General Steve Moore.
Thank you. Good morning. I also want to add my condolences and the condolences of my office to the family of Liza Fletcher. To lose someone so young and so vital is a tragedy in and of itself, but to have it happen in this way with a senseless act of violence, it's unimaginable. And we express our deepest condolences. We're praying for them. I'm praying for Liza, and I'm praying for the family. With respect to the family, both law enforcement and our office was in contact with the family throughout this long weekend. They have been fully cooperative throughout that entire process, and in contrast to whatever baseless speculation you might have seen, we have no reason to think this was anything other than an isolated attack by a stranger. With respect to the family, we were in touch with them, as I said, throughout the course of the weekend. I visited with the family personally over the weekend. I also visited them this morning when we had terrible news to deliver to them. And I have a message from the family that I want to express to all of you, the public, but also the media. Please respect their privacy. Please allow them to grieve. At an appropriate time, they will be making a statement. I believe a written statement will be forthcoming, but we really do ask that you avoid intrusive questioning and respect their privacy. I also want to take this opportunity to commend all of law enforcement, the people behind me and all the agencies they represent. I had the opportunity to go to the command center over the course of the weekend, and I saw with my own eyes the seamless cooperation among all of them. Chief Davis referred to it a moment ago as symphonic. I think that's an entirely appropriate adjective. I watched myself how they cooperated, and I was very impressed with the speed with which they developed leads, the speed with which they turned around test results, the diligence with which they coordinated the search efforts. They're all to be commended. As for our office, the defendant was arraigned this morning. on charges of kidnapping and tampering with evidence. He'll be arraigned tomorrow morning on new charges that we now have to bring of first-degree murder, premeditated murder, murder in the course of perpetration of a kidnapping. Any kind of violence, of course, is unacceptable, but repeat violent offenders particularly deserve a strong response, and that's what they'll get from this district attorney's office. We will continue to cooperate with law enforcement and work closely with them, as we already have, so that we can do our best to bring justice to this tragic situation. And I'll end there. I'll note that because this is still an ongoing investigation and a pending case, and I, as a prosecutor, have certain legal limits on what I can say. There are probably limits to what kind of questions that I can answer or that can be answered by anybody. But I'll just end there. Thank you.
This question is for anyone in law enforcement. Do you know a manner of death? A, and B, was she killed in the vehicle?
It's too early for us to determine place and method of death at this point.
Chief, can you just, the suspect initially, according to the affidavit, was not being cooperative. The suspect ultimately will be fined this victim.
At this time, I can't respond. We're still working with that suspect, but at this time, we have not gotten very much information from that individual. Say that again. It's still early on. We're still uncovering various leads. This is an ongoing investigation. That's a possibility. But at this time, no one else has been charged. We really don't know at this particular time. We work together to identify various locations, and that was our search concentration, and we're just blessed that we were able to identify this location, and our officers were successful in finding her. That's it.
All right, thank you all for the questions. That's all the information that we have right now. You can send them to the BIO's office if you have any additional questions, and we'll address them there. Thank you.
Looking into an incident where you don't receive a miss or what was there being concerned to be harassed. Chief, does this have anything possible to do with that?
All right, everybody. That's the end of that press conference. CBS News is the source if you need verification for the said information. Let's go over what was discussed briefly in this commentary. Thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this network, $Beganji 129 Cash App. Thank you so much for your time. District Attorney, TBI, Chief of Police to give their deepest condolences to the family. They ask that you respect the privacy of the Fletcher family. Questions were asked from reporters, manner of death. Naturally, none has been given because she was just found yesterday. They were asking about the suspect, Cleotha, Abston. Is he cooperating? Here he was not cooperating. You hear this law official say they don't have much info from him, but they are working with him. It was also asked if others were involved, and it has been stated that this is an ongoing investigation. Will there be other arrests? I guess it depends on what they find out. But I put up a clip late this morning in the wee hours because I stumbled across it trying to Google Gwendolyn Brown. Many Gwendolyn Browns in Memphis. And this video, short video came up, I guess a news reporter's content of the scene yesterday. It's a short, please check it out in my library. It's baffling to see the visual of the apartment complex where the brother Mario lived versus the dump site of the body, because it's just down a sidewalk from my viewing or around the corner, however you want to judge it, backside of the property. Either way, it's close proximity. Less than 2 miles is putting it mildly. It's literally the back of the property from the way it looks, from where they had the cars parked. Now, was it further down the road where they were looking? Could be. I only got the angle from the apartment complex to the back of the complex where there was a lot of shrubs, wooded area. Nonetheless, my point is, why would he dispose of her there? Why in God's name would you dispose of a body near your own family member's home? You can't make me understand. And as this law official says in this commentary, there has been many speculations pertaining to the kidnapping of Liza Fletcher. And indeed, because I saw many versions in the chat last night, and as I tell people, I don't repeat something I don't know it to be true or factual. I can say I heard it, but I'm not going to repeat, yes, this is true. This is why you can't listen to all that rhetoric. It's best to get a source of information. This is strange. This story is strange. To dump a body near your brother's apartment. I can't make myself understand it. And I was up all morning thinking about this scenario. How did it come to be? Was this personal? Was this personal? They believe this is an isolated incident. So with all the speculation, all the rumors you're hearing, they do not believe, obviously, that this is a connection to anything. So this issue with the uncle working for the law firm of victim number one, kidnapped victim number one from 2000, obviously they don't feel it's a connection, or they would have said so. Now, will further information say it is? I do not know, because I don't know what they have so far against Mr. Abston and any other cohorts. But so far they're saying this is isolated. But I'm going to chop that up later in my live, if indeed this was an isolated incident, or he had been stalking her, watching her, or just looking for a victim on that said morning. It's just racially motivated. We will discuss that. And I also will discuss the manhunt and the hours and the efforts that went into this investigation pertaining to a Caucasian individual. Because we know that many people are missing currently in America at this moment, missing in the state of Tennessee at this moment, and there have been no dogs, helicopters, nothing. But we also know that when evidence is left behind, surveillance, things such as shoes, weapons, it gives you more to go on. So we're going to question, did this investigation take off only because shoes were left behind, phone left behind by the victim, water bottle left behind from the victim? And plus, video surveillance, commentary from his own brother and a female, and the fact that she's white. Because many are going to question, if this was a black female, Indian female, Native American, Hispanic, would there have been this much effort put forward with a rush, with evidentiary material by the TBI, FBI, helicopters, canines? And it is a valid question. It's a very valid question. Did her status put a rush on the DNA testing on the shoes? Because we know that there are backlogs in labs to do testing for evidentiary material in a crime investigation. Thank you for joining me. I will now play you commentary pertaining to Mr. Abston's court appearance. He did attend court today. And I will play you that said information. WREG News 3 is the source. This is a brief clip of the arraignment. Thank you so much. And as you know, he will be attending court tomorrow to face murder charges for Liza Fletcher.
So if you would face me, start, we can communicate better. Appreciate it. I know you're wearing a facial mask, so speak as clear as you can through your mask there. So I can be sure I understand what you're saying. We have two cases on the docket today. And in one case, listed here on the docket as Cleotha Abston. In the second case, they have listed it as Cleotha Abston Henderson, which is correct legally. Which is correct. Abston, Henderson. Sorry? Henderson. Okay. And where does the Abston come in? Social Security. Then I'll address you that way. Ms. Abston, in your first case, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping and tampering with or fabricating evidence in a criminal case. Your bond was set by the Judicial Commissioner in that case in the amount of $500,000. In your second case, you're charged with a misdemeanor offense, theft of property with a value of $1,000 or less, identity theft, and fraudulent use or possession of a credit card. Your bond was set in that case in the amount of $10,000 by the Judicial Commissioner. You're presumed to be innocent of the charges. You have the right to have a lawyer represent you on these charges, and that is why you were asked to fill out some information for me for each case in an affidavit. Similar to this, we get to one for each case. Raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm that the facts and the information that you are submitting in each of your affidavits concerning whether you can make bonds and whether you can hire an attorney is true and correct information, sir? Put your hand down. In each of your affidavits for each case, you state that at this time you are not able to make bond, there's no one to help you, and you're not able to afford a lawyer. Is that correct? Your affidavits will be filed here at each of your court jackets. And based upon your affidavits, I'm going to appoint an attorney to represent you. You'll be assigned a lawyer from the council from the Office of the Shelby County Public Defender. I'm referring your cases today to the office and holding your cases over for a short continuance so they can assign a lawyer to represent you who will review your cases and the facts. Yes, ma'am. All right, you'll sign on both jackets, Ms. Jennifer Case. Can you step over and sign the jacket for me, please?
Yes, Your Honor, and I will also advise the court that I'm at this time filing a motion for the restriction of extrajudicial statements on prosecution by law enforcement witnesses in the case.
You file whatever motions you need to at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll be asking the court for order.
Just to advise you, not office of Mr. Hagerman, I understand that there were additional charges during forthcoming. How do you want to handle this today?
I'd say a couple of things, Your Honor. First, with regard to this motion, I think she said something to the effect of preparing an order. The state intends, as we always do, to comport with the ethical rules about what we can say and what we can't say. I don't understand a request for any sort of gag order at this time. This is literally the first court date.
I haven't seen it yet. There's nothing in the record right now. I haven't seen a written motion. If and when a written motion is filed, I will review it and rule on it. I understand. You'll have the opportunity to be heard.
Very good. The second thing, Your Honor, is yes, additional charges were filed this morning for murder, premeditated murder, and murder in perpetration of the kidnapping. I would expect the Judicial Commissioner to send those cases here, the clerk's office send those cases here, as Your Honor stated. I would expect them to defer to Your Honor with regard to a bond setting on those cases. I think it would normally come to this court with no bond set. And I think it would make the most sense, just record keeping and everything else right now, to go ahead and show no bond set on this matter as well. So we get everything straight in the record.
If there's going to be any motion filed to reduce bond or set no bond or revoke bond, I want it in writing, in the record. Under the statute, a bond has been set by the Judicial Commission at this time. That's the bond. If there's going to be any request by the defense to reduce the bond or change the bond, it must be in writing per the statute. If there's a request by the state to change the bond, increase it, revoke it, or anything like that, it must be in writing. So if you'll file your motion to have it in the record, then we can deal with that. It's not before me right now. The case is not in front of me, and it requires a written motion by counsel for the defendant, for the state, to file a written motion if there's going to be a change in bail. All right? Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, I'm assuming that we can't assume that the clerk's office is going to assign the case to this courtroom. I'll have to ask them to specifically do that. Unfortunately, too many times when cases are pending in one courtroom, and a person's charged, the clerk assigns it to who's next in line, who's next on the assignment. So I'll have to make a phone call down to the clerk's office and request that they set the case if there's charges been filed. Set those case with the new charges in this court. They'll be on the document in the morning. So I don't know if you want to hold this for the morning.
I would also ask that perhaps the court hear our motion tomorrow, just file a written motion.
Well, I'll take it up if and when it's filed and give the state an opportunity to look at it, read it, and see if they want to respond to it in writing. So let's don't do oral motions on the first day. Let's not do that. Let me get before the court in a proper status, proper way to consider any motions, okay? We'll take this up in the morning, and I'm assuming that the other case will be done. It's not before me right now. This is all hearsay. I'm hearing this from somebody else. I want it in the record. I want it before me before I make any rulings on anything like that. All right? We'll hold this for tomorrow morning. Now, show this forward report to the Department of Counsel. Did you sign on this code? September 7th, for a report back date. I understand there's other charges forthcoming. Hopefully we'll be in this court tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. We'll take it up at that time. Thank you. Thank you all very much for your cooperation. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Trying to give you a glimpse of the suspect. Kind of took him off there real quick. There's the suspect.
Print media and video as well. Under Rule 30, request went out, filed. This is the first appearance, and I'll waive that. But this is a copy of the order that I signed allowing the daily nephew, who's representative, to have access to the case. This is print media, not video. If you have any objections to any video under Rule 30, you can file that for the court to hear now. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Woo! WREG is the source. Lord, where do I begin? As you see, he's standing there looking stupid in court. From my assertion from looking at Mr. Abston, he doesn't care. He seems bored with the proceedings going on. Like, why am I here? You're wasting my time. I could be somewhere else. And yeah, we know you could be somewhere else, doing something you don't have no business, such as felonious crimes, robbery, kidnapping, assault, and murder. One would have to ask themselves, how did he get to this point? Being out less than 2 years, he obviously wanted to go back. Did Mr. Abston want to go back to prison? Because this is how this is looking to me. Because there's no way you could sit up in prison for 20 years, moaning and crying and posting to social media, you can't wait to get out, you can't wait to get out. And the only thing you could think to do in the 2 years, less than 2 years, that you are actually free to roam the earth, you would think to do this type of crime. And to me, if he had held up a gas station or broken into somebody's house, it still would be the same to me. Why? Why do it? Why not redeem yourself? You were a child when you went into the custody of the jailing system, the prison system. So why not make your life better? Half of your life is already gone from kidnapping that lawyer back in 2000. And the only thing you can think to do is to get out and stalk somebody and kidnap them, assault them, and then kill her. This makes no logical sense to me. Let's discuss what was said in this brief video clip of his court appearance. He has to go to court tomorrow to stand account on a now murder charge of Liza Fletcher and also theft charges, identity fraud. It's very, very strange. As you heard the judge speaking, he is a Caucasian judge. He will also be officiating tomorrow. The defendant says he cannot make bond nor afford a lawyer. So the judge has appointed him from the Shelby County Public Defender's Office a public defender. He's been charged with premeditated murder and murder and a kidnap. A gag order was mentioned by the state. So far, an order has not been rendered pertaining to the gag order. That will come later. The bond was also discussed by the state, by the judge, excuse me. He's basically letting them know they can put in formal writing if they want to go up or go down in a bond. Naturally, the bond will go up now since Liza Fletcher's body has been discovered and he has been formally charged with murder. And that's also not including the theft charges, identity charges. $10,000 bond on the said theft and identity fraud charges. This judge made sure to let the state know he wants everything in writing. And he didn't want to discuss any oral motions during this proceeding because there's more on the table pertaining to Mr. Abston's having more charges. So he said we can get into this tomorrow, which will be Wednesday. 9 a.m. Mr. Abston will appear in court tomorrow on said murder charges of Liza Fletcher and theft. Now we have to ask ourselves, the theft, is it pertaining to Liza Fletcher's personal effects or somebody else? Because as I told you last night in my commentary, it's going to be hard for me to think that she ran outside with a wallet on her. Because most people, when they're running or walking, they don't want a lot of things to carry, such as, whatever, phone, water bottle, wallet. Usually people will have their keys on them, I would assume. Because you have to be able to get back into your car, depending on if you parked your car and went somewhere and ran, or you're running directly from home. You have to be able to get back into your house. I would hope you wouldn't leave your house unlocked. And that's another thing people need to think about too when being robbed out in public or someone breaks into your car. That person now has jurisdiction to go find your address. You leave things back behind with your address on it if it's accurate, such as driver license, car registration. Do you understand what I'm saying? But once again, you hear in the first audio from the chief of police of Memphis, this is isolated. You're entitled to your opinion and what you believe. As I said, many rumors were circulating, and I did not bank on any of those rumors because if I don't get a source from the news, I don't bank on it. Was this isolated? Was he just out looking for somebody? Didn't matter who she was, and he just found the first person available, unattended, with no eyewitnesses, allegedly. But I'm starting to wonder if indeed there was a reason why he chose a white woman. Because let's be truthful. If Gwendolyn is actually a woman he's living with, dating, because I don't really have verification if it's even a girlfriend. I've said it in my commentary just out of assumption. But let's just say this Gwendolyn Brown, where he was staying, is a woman he's courting. The question is going to be, why are you out here scavenging the streets for a victim, and you have a woman at your house? I'm assuming a black woman. So why are you out here playing funny games with a white lady? Was this intentionally racially motivated? One could ask. Why was it not a black woman? I mean, you are black. People are going to ask, because I'm asking. Why did he deliberately go to a university and hunt down a woman when he has a woman that he can engage in sexually? Because we already know this is also going to be a sexual crime. Because what would be the purpose in kidnapping her? Just to look at her? Why was the victim white? Does he have an issue with white people? Did he like a white woman that wasn't interested? And he saw this lady. She reminded him of a lady that he was interested in. I'm curious. Because in the mind of someone sick, you have no idea what motivated them to go out here and do the heinous crimes they've committed. So I'm going to ask all those questions. I'm going to ask those questions because I'm curious. Why would he go across town or this area in the middle of the night in someone else's automobile hunting down a white woman? Why there and why her? Whether she was intentional or not, planned or not, personal or not, she still is Caucasian. Why her? And what are the odds that her uncle works for the law firm of his first victim? Did they know each other? Liza's uncle and the man he kidnapped 20 years ago. It's very interesting information. Thank you for joining me. All right, we're going to do some more dissecting. I played you the press conference out of Memphis pertaining to her body being confirmed, Liza Fletcher. I played you commentary of his court arraignment. Hold on one second. I want to make sure I play everything. I'm going to play News Nation. This commentary is pertaining to a former FBI agent who spoke to News Nation, and I played you a clip of this lady's commentary yesterday, and this is more of what she has to say because somewhere in her mind she believes this is personal because of the uncle working for the law firm. Also, I guess planned. But as I said, he may have planned it in his head that morning, just the day before, on that Thursday. I don't know. But it was sloppy because who goes out hunting prey in flip-flops? Stay woke now. You see, when he was roaming around, which is normal for sadists to roam in the wee hour, when they don't think anybody's up, circulating around, moving about. It's also the hour that crackheads and pillheads and meth heads and drug addicts roam. They do their dirty deeds in the late hour as well, as many of you who have ever been affiliated with people who get high, people who sell drugs. That's the witching hour for them. They like to be up late. So one could wonder if indeed he's an addict. He was looking for a quick fix. So he tried to find somebody he could rob so he could possibly go to the dope man. Stay woke. And how ironic, I want you to listen carefully to me. the brother was arrested for drugs while this investigation was going on in the search for Cleotha. Fentanyl and heroin Mario was in possession of. And let's thank Cleotha for his brother getting arrested, because had Cleotha not kidnapped this woman, murdered her, Mario would have never gotten arrested. Do you see how the web is tangled? Mario would be free right now had his brother Cleotha not went out hunting Liza Fletcher. So one would wonder why he dumped that body backside of that property where Mario lived. Come on with it now. Of all the places he could have dumped her, why near the brothel? How convenient that you dump her near the brother's apartment and then mosey yourself on in the parking lot, banging on a door hours later, needing to clean yourself up. Because I don't think that dump site or this apartment was near the University of Memphis campus. Because I showed you last night, it's at least a 19-minute drive to and fro. So there was nowhere near the Memphis campus he could have disposed of the body. Stay woke now. Is he an addict? Was he getting high since getting out of prison? Is that what he was really doing when he was out hunting prey? He was more or less looking for a victim. Could that be how he came across Mrs. Fletcher? He needed money because he's a dope fiend. What is the truth? Thank you for joining me. News Nation is my next source. This is pertaining to the big clue of the relation of Liza Fletcher, the uncle, and the suspect, Mr. Abston. All videos posted to my community board if you need verification.
FBI agent joins us tonight. Jennifer, great to speak with you. You've seen so many cases. I know you've worked on so many cases similar to this. How likely is it, do you think, that Liza was a victim of a random crime? Or do you think she may have been targeted because of her family's stature in the community and her significant amount of money?
Well, I'm not sure that that's necessarily the reason, but I am concerned with this, and that is Cleotha Abston, who committed this, or at least has been charged with this kidnapping. The person he kidnapped previously was actually worked in the same law firm as the uncle of Liza Fletcher. And I think this is a very significant clue. And I'm sure, certainly, that the FBI, that the U.S. Marshals, and that the TBI is looking closely at this relationship.
And it is really an interesting relationship there. And Jennifer, I know that you say you don't believe in coincidences. Based on this new piece of information, everything that we know so far, this man Cleotha is currently behind bars. He'll appear in court tomorrow for the first time. But we still have no Liza. Where are authorities at this point in the investigation?
Well, they are combing through every bit of information they have. Remember, they also conducted a search warrant at Eliza's home. and they took a computer and other items. So they're going to be looking forensically at that information and see if anyone had communication with Liza, or if she was communicating with anybody that's giving them pause as to these connections. In addition, they are combing through that dumpster that they took to look for any DNA evidence linking Eliza to that dumpster. They are looking over all the information that they can glean from his apartment and the apartment of his brother, and information from his girlfriend. There is so much to pour over now, and I believe that the reason we're seeing this activity of going from to different locations is because of the leads set forth from this information.
All right, so Jennifer, let's go back to this suspect here, this man in custody, Cleotha Abston, convicted and served 20 of a 24-year sentence for abduction. You already pointed out the connection between the crime that he was convicted of, this current crime that he is now charged with. Did the system fail Eliza Fletcher here?
Anytime someone is let out early and then goes on to commit another violent crime, yes, I think society is let down. I think we are all let down by his early release.
Well, her family and friends obviously holding out hope. We want to see the very best outcome for the Fletcher family. Based on your experience, though, you know, we certainly also have to be realistic. Do you think Eliza is likely to be found alive and unharmed at this point?
You know, I always, Nicole, hold out hope. I hold out hope for these victims, but we cannot not face some of the evidence, and that is the blood evidence that was washed out of his clothes, purportedly, the evidence in terms of him cleaning the bottom of his vehicle, the fact that dumpster was taken, the fact that no one has seen her, and the violent criminal past of her alleged abductor. When you put all of that in a package, it makes it difficult to believe she is still alive, but we all hold out hope.
Oh, absolutely. And if we can stay on this picture, this surveillance picture of Eliza Fletcher jogging there, you know, something that we keep hearing about. This was part of her exercise routine. That's what she appears to have been taking there. We're taking a look at that picture now. So going on these routine jogs, obviously, you know, everybody has the right to be healthy, to be out jogging. But what are some of the ways that, you know, people who are in these routines, and maybe even if they vary it every few days, how can people try to stay as safe as possible?
Well, I think the main things are awareness. You have to be completely aware of your surroundings. That means no earpods. That means not on your cell phone, but truly paying attention to the sounds and what you see around you. Secondarily, you should have pepper spray with you, and not just with you, on the ready, unlatched, and ready to go in case you are somebody attempts to abduct you. You should also run against traffic, meaning somebody can't drive up behind you with their lights off and abduct you as easily as if you're facing them and you see them veer off and come towards you. The other thing, it's so important to change routes. Maybe you have to jog at 4:30 or 4:20 every morning because that's your schedule, but change up that route. Go on different streets. Don't make it so a predator can look at your routine and then make you a victim. Remember, in this case, he allegedly was seen for approximately 20 minutes as if he was waiting for her. That's another indication to me that this possibly could have been pre-planned and organized.
Yeah, you certainly never know who is watching. And of course, we hope that Eliza Fletcher is found safely. Jennifer Coffindoffer, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Nicole, thank you.
And if you have any...
We're going to stop it there because Mrs. Fletcher has been found deceased and confirmed dead. This information was uploaded, I believe, a day ago. I only played this because this former FBI agent believes this was pre-planned. There may be some hanky-panky pertaining to her uncle and the law firm of the victim number one from 2000 that Mr. Abston kidnapped and put in the trunk. What is the truth? Was this pre-planned? Had he seen this woman jogging before or somewhere else and he lied in wait? You hear in this information 20 minutes. So that means he's on surveillance sitting around or driving around for 20 minutes. Why? What was so special about Liza Fletcher? Because you're not going to know what he's been talking about, what she was talking about, until they go through all devices, phone conversations, texts. But this is that he's seen on camera lying in wait for 20 minutes. Where was he? Was he parked for 20 minutes, or he was riding by her for 20 minutes, circling, trying to muster up the courage to park the vehicle and jump out and bum rush this woman, which he did. And if somebody's watching you, even if you're running against traffic and you've been seeing them run, you could just park your car, get on foot. Wait till they come by, jump out, which I'm assuming that's what he did, and grab the victim. Either going in front of them or behind them. It's not going to matter. This is why you don't wear ear pods, as she said. You need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to hear if there are footsteps, a dog running, if there's a fire, anything. You need to be able to hear conversations. And I pray she wasn't listening to true crime while running, because she liked true crime. And as I said in my earlier commentary, how sick and ironic is it that she enjoyed true crime? And many people do. But she befell as a victim of true crime. Think about that for a second, because that is scary as hell to know. She had posted to social media she's wanting to find a new podcast to watch. I mentioned to you the podcast that she enjoyed watching, listening to. And now she is a victim and will become a story and a news story and a podcast. And a documentary will be done about Liza Fletcher. We all know this. And this is sad. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to now bring you commentary pertaining to this very horrific story out of Memphis, Tennessee. As most of you know, Mr. Abston is in jail. He cannot afford an attorney. He will not be making bond. He had a first appearance today, and he will be going to court tomorrow, Wednesday, for murder charges and theft charges and identity fraud. Are those theft charges pertaining to Liza Fletcher? Those theft charges right now have a $10,000 bond, which will be added on to the $500,000 bond for the kidnapping. Naturally, when the state goes before the judge tomorrow, they probably will ask for a higher bond, since they will be now adding premeditated murder and theft and identity fraud onto the kidnapping charges. From yesterday. I posted this as a short to show you the close proximity of the brothers' apartment complex. Let me show it again. To where they were searching. It's just the backside of the building. Absolutely ridiculous. As I said before, why would he dump the body back there? I don't understand. It's very strange to me. Very strange to me. WSOC TV is the source, 9 News. Liza Fletcher abduction, body found during search, ID'd as kidnapped Memphis teacher. Authorities have charged a man with murder after identifying a body found Monday during the search for a missing Memphis teacher as 34-year-old Liza Fletcher, police said Tuesday. Fletcher vanished while jogging Friday morning during the University of Memphis. Authorities said Cleotha, Abston, 38, faces murder and kidnapping charges in connection to her disappearance and death. At a news conference Tuesday, Memphis Police Chief Cyrillin Davis said it remained too early to determine Fletcher's manner of death or the exact location where she died. This has been reported by WHBQ. The chief said Abston was not cooperating with investigators. He is expected to appear in court Wednesday morning. Shelby County District Attorney Steve Mora said that it appeared that Fletcher's kidnapping and death constituted an isolated attack by a stranger, according to WHBQ. Fletcher was kidnapped while jogging early Friday morning, investigators said. Her body was found Monday. In a statement obtained by WHBQ, Fletcher's family said they were heartbroken and devastated by the senseless loss and asked for privacy as they continued to grieve. Liza was such a joy to so many, her family, friends, colleagues, students, parents, members of her Second Presbyterian Church congregation, and everyone who knew her, the statement said. Now it's time to remember and celebrate how special she was and to support those who cared so much for her. This is an update coming from 10:30 this morning. In his first court appearance, Cleotha Abston told the judge that he cannot afford bond, which has been set at $500,000. He also said that he could not afford an attorney. This is a picture of his recent mugshot. Very disturbing. Police on Tuesday confirmed that a body found in the search for missing teacher Liza Fletcher has been identified as the 34-year-old. Cleotha Abston, who is facing a kidnapping charge in connection to Fletcher's death, has been charged with first-degree murder and first-degree murder in perpetration of kidnapping, police said. This is an update that was put on the Memphis Police Department's Twitter page. The deceased victim that was located yesterday in the 1600 block of Victor has been identified as 34-year-old Liza Fletcher. Additional charges for 38-year-old Cleotha Abston have been added for first-degree murder in perpetration of kidnapping. And also the city watch was canceled for Liza Fletcher once they were able to confirm she was indeed the body found in that designated area. Earlier, the news station reported that sources had confirmed that Fletcher had been identified as the person found dead Monday. Multiple law enforcement sources say a body discovered Sunday in South Memphis has been identified. Once again, it's Liza Fletcher. And this was an update at 8:42 p.m. last night. Authorities discovered a body Sunday night while searching for 34-year-old Liza Fletcher, a Memphis mother and teacher, whose police say was abducted while jogging near the university. Authorities have not confirmed that the body found near Victor Street and Person Avenue in South Memphis is Fletcher's. Let me repeat that again. Authorities discovered a body Sunday night. So they were looking Sunday, Monday. So see, they never told anybody that they found her Sunday, because it is now Tuesday. Stay woke now. They found the body Sunday. And the only people that would have known were the people who were there on the scene, detectives, and anybody that drove by and could see a body bag being pulled out of the designated area. So yesterday, when everybody was all up in a roar about vacant houses, this and that, she was already discovered Sunday. This is why I don't jump the gun in repeating things until I have a source. All right. There was also a helicopter flying over. You saw that yesterday. Hold on one second. My screen is acting up. Hold on. For some reason my screen's frozen. As of 5:54 yesterday, thank you, sweetheart, for the donation. 5:54 yesterday. According to court records, new charges were filed against Abston. Oh, Lord. I don't know what's going on. Only when you talk about true crime, screens jump. It's just a sign. This is some strange stuff going on here. Hold on one second, you guys. I don't know why. That's why I don't like reading these articles out of the searches, because they don't like to stay uploaded. This is update from 5:54 yesterday. According to court records, new charges were filed against Abston on Monday, including identity theft, theft of property, and fraudulent use, illegal possession of credit and debit card, $1,000 or less. Abston, whose bond was set at $500,000, remain. Hold on. I don't know why this does not want to remain in jail on Monday. He is slated to appear in court Tuesday morning, and yes, he did appear in court today. As most of you know, Fletcher worked as a teacher at St. Mary's Episcopal School in Memphis, and she's a mother of two and married. She was 34 years of age, and she was jogging around 4:30 a.m. CD time Friday when an unidentified person approached her. Around 11:30 p.m. CD time on Friday, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation identified the van used to abduct Fletcher as a dark-colored GMC Terrain. Okay, so that's hours later. There's almost like conflict here, because I thought he was arrested at 10:45 in the a.m. So this is very strange information. It says here at 11:30 p.m. Friday, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation identified the van used to abduct Fletcher as a dark-colored GMC Terrain. Fletcher has not been found. Police said, authorities said Fletcher's personal items have been found, but she has not returned home, according to the television station. Liza Fletcher has not been located at this time, Memphis police tweeted. MPD investigators and officers, along with our local and federal partners, continue searching. Now, this is the original report pertaining to her. This is very strange information, because I thought all this went down in the morning time. Police also announced that a second man, currently not believed to be connected to Fletcher's abduction, was arrested Saturday. Mario Abston, 36, was charged with possession of a controlled substance with intent to manufacture and sell fentanyl, possession of a controlled substance with intent to manufacture and sell heroin, and convicted felon in possession of a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony, police said. Fletcher's family released a statement and video on Saturday that was narrated by the woman's uncle, Mike Keeney. And this is the uncle that the former FBI agent was talking about to News Nation, that has a connection to the law firm of victim number one, which was kidnapped by Abston back in 2000. They basically said they want to thank everybody for the prayers, outpouring support. She touched the hearts of many, and it shows. We want to thank the Memphis Police Department, Shelby County Sheriff's Department, TBI, FBI, and all the law enforcement agencies working tirelessly to find her. The family has met with police. We have shared with them all information we know. More than anything, we want to see Liza return home safely. The family offered a reward for more information that leads to her safe return. We believe someone knows what happened and can help. That was their statement Saturday. WSOC TV9 is the source of this information. Once again, Liza Fletcher has been confirmed dead in Memphis, Tennessee. The family asks that you respectfully not intrude their privacy at this moment. Mr. Abston appeared in court today, and he does not have the money to afford an attorney. So he will be appointed one from the public defender's office in Memphis, Tennessee. He will also appear in court tomorrow on theft and identity charges and premeditated murder. You hear commentary from the chief of police during this press conference that they do believe this is an isolated event. Was it isolated? Did he plan it? Isolated, but pre-planned. Either by 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. What are we saying? I'm going to bring you more information pertaining to Liza Fletcher. This was uploaded today, 7:48 a.m. Newsweek is the source. Liza Fletcher, suspect served 20 years for kidnapping lawyer. Memphis police identified the body found Monday night as the missing Memphis teacher. The investigation is still ongoing. So see, there's a discrepancy. Was she found Sunday or was she found Monday? Because the article I just brought you by News 9 says she was found Sunday. Now this article is saying she was found Monday. I don't know. It's very, very strange information. Cleotha Abston, age 38, has been charged with first-degree murder and especially aggravated kidnapping and tampering with evidence, according to Memphis police. Abston was arraigned Tuesday morning and will be back in court Wednesday. Fletcher disappeared while jogging early Friday morning. The billionaire heiress was forced into a dark-colored SUV after a brief struggle, video shows. The 34-year-old was a mother of two and kindergarten teacher. Fletcher's late grandfather, Joseph Orgel III, ran Orgel, a hardware distributor, ranked among the largest private companies in the U.S. Here are pictures of the victim and the suspect. Newsweek is the source. All right, everybody. Most of the information in here is just information I've already repeated, dealing with her disappearance. But it also says here in this commentary, on Saturday, September 3rd, police located the vehicle of interest and detained the owner in South Memphis. So she went missing on early Friday morning at 4-something. They didn't get the suspect till Saturday, is what this article is saying by Newsweek. I thought he was apprehended on that Friday. But then the commentary I just brought you, News 9, said he didn't get called until Friday night. So what is the truth? It's strange. Then it says on Sunday, September 4th, police announced the detained individual, Cleotha Abston, was charged with especially aggravated kidnapping and tampering with evidence. Still, there was no trace of Fletcher at that time. Monday, 5:07 p.m., Monday night, they found an unidentified body at a duplex in 1600 block of Victor Street. Police said the body was found roughly 7.5 miles from where surveillance video showed Fletcher was abducted. 7.5 miles. All right. Let me write that down. 7.5 miles. That's interesting. See, there's a lot of conflict here. Because as I said, many people in the chat with different conversations about houses, dumpsters. But as I said, if I don't get it from the news, I don't repeat it. I don't repeat it. Naturally, they're going to take the dumpster from Mario's apartment because that is where the suspect was washing his clothes. So they want to check the dumpster to see what all he threw away in the dumpster. Some of you thought she was in the dumpster. Now, how stupid would it be for him to go to this apartment complex? People probably up, looking out windows, getting high, doing all kind of crazy stuff. You don't know who's getting ready to go to work. Throw a white woman's body in a damn dumpster. Come on now. Makes no sense. But all of this is conflicting to me. I don't really know what to believe, to tell you the truth. So we have Saturday on the 3rd, The vehicle of interest is detained and the owner. Sunday, they announced aggravated kidnapping charges and tampering with evidence for Mr. Abston. Monday, the police announced at 5:07 p.m. that they found an unidentified body at a duplex, 1600 block of Victor Street. Police said the body was found roughly 7.5 miles from the surveillance where she was abducted. Tuesday, just before 10 a.m. Tuesday morning, police announced that the body found Monday was Fletcher. Police also announced additional charges for Abston, including first-degree murder in perpetration of kidnapping. Abston was arraigned on kidnapping charges Tuesday morning. He's being held in jail, $500,000 bond, and will be appointed a public defender to take up his case. Shelby County District Attorney Steve Morrow said Abston will be arraigned on new murder charges tomorrow. Suspect served 20 years for kidnapping lawyer. This was uploaded 29 minutes ago. Newsweek is the source. The man suspected in kidnapping the murder of Liza Fletcher previously spent 2 decades behind bars for the abduction of a Memphis-based lawyer, Cleotha Abston, 38-year-old, who was charged Tuesday morning in the Fletcher case, pleaded guilty in 2001 on kidnapping charges stemming from the abduction of attorney Kemper Duran in 2000. A review of court records by the Commercial Appeal showed Duran was forced into his vehicle's trunk at gunpoint and then taken to a gas station, ATM, at which time Duran flagged over an armed guard and escaped. It is quite likely that I would have been killed had I not escaped, Duran said in a written impact statement according to the Commercial Appeal. Abston, who was 16 back in 2000, fled alongside another suspect after Duran alerted the guard but was arrested shortly thereafter and sentenced to 24 years in prison. He was released in November 2020, according to the Associated Press. And for those who do not know, he did not do all of 24 years. He capped out at 85% and was let go. He was free less than 2 years when he exacted this heinous crime Friday morning against Liza Fletcher of kidnap, assault, and murder. The family said they were heartbroken, devastated by this senseless loss. And they shared with reporters on Tuesday, less than 24 hours after police found human remains that were subsequently identified as Fletcher's. Fletcher was such a joy to family, friends, and members of the community. She was part of everyone who knew her. I've just repeated that earlier. Now it's time to celebrate how special she was. Support those who cared for her, so much for her. This is what the family has said to the public. It went on to convey appreciation, expressions of love and concern, as well as the efforts made by law enforcement officials to find Liza to bring justice to the person responsible for this horrible crime. The statement concluded with a request for privacy so the family can grieve. Also, the school has spoken, and they spoke of her as a bright light in the community. They said, "We are heartbroken at the loss of our beloved teacher, colleague, friend, Liza Fletcher." The school said, "Our hearts are with the Fletcher, Orgel, and Welford families." This school said faculty and staff began Tuesday in chapel, where they lit candles to remember Fletcher, who was bright light in our community. Liza embodied the song that we sing every week in early childhood chapel, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine," the school said. Wow. This is on their Twitter page, St. Mary's Episcopal School. "We continue to draw strength from our all-school read, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Charlie Maskasy. We don't know about tomorrow," said the horse. "All we need to know is that we love each other." It is too soon for authorities to say where and how Liza Fletcher died, Memphis Police Chief Serlin Davis said during the Tuesday morning press conference. Authorities said their investigation into Fletcher's kidnapping is ongoing, with little information coming from Cleotha Abston, the suspect authorities arrested in the case. "We are still working with that suspect," Davis said, "but at this time, we have not gotten very much information from that individual." Authorities said they found human remains behind an empty duplex apartment Monday evening following a 4-day search. The body has since been identified as Fletcher's. Davis said authorities are still uncovering various leads, but said that as of Tuesday morning, no one else had been charged in connection with Fletcher's disappearance and death. Abston was arrested over the weekend and faced his first charges in the Fletcher case Tuesday morning. He will be back in court Wednesday morning to face additional charges, according to Shelby County District Attorney Steve Morrow. Shelby County District Attorney Steve Morrow had said the attack on Liza was an isolated incident. During a press conference, Morrow said there's no reason to think this was anything other than an isolated attack by a stranger, quote unquote. Morrow said he has been in contact with Fletcher's family throughout the weekend. The family has been fully cooperative with the investigation, Morrow said, pushing back against baseless allegations that have circulated. He also shared a personal message from the family. They asked that the public please respect their privacy at this time to allow them to grieve. A written statement is forthcoming. Suspect Cleotha Abston was arraigned today on kidnapping charges and will be arraigned on new charges tomorrow, Morrow said. Any kind of violence unacceptable, but repeat violent offenders particularly deserve a strong response, he said, and that's what you'll get from this office. The investigation is ongoing. The chief of police, Ms. Davis, said that this is a sad day for Memphis. They're glad to get this dangerous predator off the streets. She also thanked the community for the hundreds of tips that called in. In addition to the murder and kidnapping charges, police have charged Cleotha with identity theft of property, and credit card fraud. FBI Special Agent Charge Doug Korneski said every possible resource available to the FBI was used in this investigation to find Liza Fletcher, the perpetrator, and to hold Abston accountable. The U.S. Marshals Service also participated in the search efforts. U.S. Marshal Tyrese Miller said this was not the outcome we were looking for, but said he was prepared to continue searching. If you need to go back to the beginning of this video, this is where you will hear the chief and Mr. Tyrese speak pertaining to the murder of Liza Fletcher. That's basically it. As I said, he will go to court tomorrow on murder charges and theft charges. At the current moment, the charges that were read in court by the judge states first-degree murder and perpetration of kidnapping, aggravated kidnapping, and tampering with evidence. Mr. Abston will be appointed a public defender because he said in court this morning he does not have the money to afford a lawyer and he will not be able to bond out. And naturally, the state will raise the bond, ask the judge for a higher bond, perhaps with the murder charges and theft. Or they may not, since he said he doesn't have the money. They may not raise it. I don't know. Very sad information. Let's see. Let's talk about this. This was uploaded 5 hours ago. Woman at Cleotha Abston's address. I'm very upset. Police allege Fletcher's blood was found in a vehicle of interest, GMC Terrain, that officers believe Abston was driving. A police affidavit revealed the car was registered under the name of a woman who resides at Abston's last known address at Waterstone Oak Way. Hold on a minute. Because that was the address I was meaning to mention last night. Local TV station WMC visited the woman following Abston's arrest. She declined to discuss Abston other than to say, I'm upset, I'm very upset. Well, you're probably no more upset than the victim because the victim's dead. Now, I'm going to skim over some information. The body was found Monday about 100 yards from the Longview Gardens apartment complex that is reportedly home to suspect Cleotha Abston's brother, Mario. Wow, this is crazy. Hold on one second, you guys. I want to make sure I take notes. So I can remember everything when I do my commentary. Local April Jackson, 30, who arrived at the scene to see if she could offer to help in the search, told DailyMail.com that she had been sickened by the case. It's emotional. It really hurts, she said. That could have been anybody out jogging that morning, a student, anyone. And he was just released 2 years ago for another abduction. It makes me sick. For those who did not know, Abston was working for a cleaning company. He's 38 years of age. DNA was left naturally on the slides. The victim's phone was left behind. And authorities also said they used cell phone data to track Abston's phone to near the site. Fletcher was forced into an SUV. That is what I assume how they were able to get to the site where she was found. I'm just skimming over everything. I'm going to go ahead and do my commentary now because I'm already an hour in. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great channel, $DeGanji, 129 Cash App. What's this plan? Premeditated. He knew the victim, heard of the victim, what? Law officials are stating, despite the speculation that you have heard in the street, social media, this is isolated. So that means they have not found anything to link Mr. Abston and Liza Fletcher. Do you believe that? Do you believe he planned this? Commentary from a former FBI agent on News Nation says he lied in wait for 20 minutes. What was he doing? Sitting in the car, standing outside of a car, parked, or just riding around for 20 minutes? Why Liza Fletcher? Did he feel like she was an easier prey, being a white woman? Why over at the University of Memphis? As this neighbor says, it could have been anybody, a student, anybody. And that's the whole point of the story. If they can't tie them together, she was a random person. And she's still random if he didn't know her, and he planned it 20 minutes before, 1 hour before. He was out looking for a victim. Is he a drug addict? Because if we believe that he stole anything that belonged to her, such as a debit card, credit card, then that would lead me to believe he's possibly an addict. He's got thievery in him, and it hasn't left. 20 years locked up. Why would you want to come out to be one? Stealing, robbing, sexual assault, and murder. When you've been gone 20 years. You went in as a child. So why did he commit this crime? Was it personal? Was it racially motivated? Is there a link between the lawyers and the first victim from the law firm? Or just happenstance that her uncle works for the law firm where the first victim worked at one time? Did these two ever know each other? Victim one and this lawyer, Liza's uncle, Mr. Meany. Had he been driving around the campus before, looking for a victim and mustered up the courage to approach Liza Fletcher? What's the truth? Did he know she came from money? Did he know she came from money? Very interesting. Or random. Body found 100 yards from the brother's apartment, Mario, behind a duplex. Why did he dump her back there? Because remember I told you he didn't have any shoes on. So therefore, he was going to have to carry the victim into the brush or wherever he was going to dump her without any shoes on. The risk of hurting his own feet to dump a body. As I said, this was a sloppy crime. 1, there were surveillance cameras. 2, he came out of his slides. 3, he went and parked at a parking lot nearby the abduction scene and sat in the car with the victim for 4 minutes, doing what to her? Punching her, hitting her, shooting her, stabbing her, trying to have sex with her, what? Was the whole complete crime taking place in the 4 minutes at that parking lot? Or did he decide to subdue her in the 4 minutes and then drove off and played funny games with her behind that duplex? Is that what we're saying? What will the evidence tell us? Manner of death. How long they think she's been dead actually. Did she die in a car? Or did he murder her elsewhere where he dumped the body? The risk he took on the campus. You don't live over there. You don't work over there. You're not a student over there. You're not staff over there. But just so happened you could kidnap a woman. You're black, she's white. Nobody sees anything, nothing. And then he takes her to a parking lot 4 minutes, then goes and dumps her behind a damn duplex about 19 minutes or so away. Are you all hearing what I'm saying? What are the odds that every time somebody goes missing, kidnapped, nobody sees anything? If they do, they don't say anything. And the fact that he lied in wait 20 minutes on that damn campus, nobody saw anything suspicious with a car just sitting or riding by, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But it's 4 a.m. That's the time most people are asleep. So you might be able to get away with lurking around 4 a.m., 3 a.m. Because we don't know how long he was on the campus. We don't know how long he was riding around that campus. We don't know if he was riding around any other jurisdictions in Memphis looking for a unwilling participant. So how long was he out that evening, night, scouring the city? And once again, as I said, is he an addict? Is this about a man who's a drug addict? He was just looking for a quick rob and a quick fix. Things got out of control. He had to control her. Maybe she was a fighter. Did he threaten her? Did he tell her, I'll kill you? Did he say, be quiet, I'll let you live. Just give me what I want. What did he say to the victim when he first put her in the car? Did he punch her, hit her to subdue her, have a weapon, mace? What? Because remember, he's the driver, she's the passenger. She could have jumped out of the car when he went around to the driver's side because he had to put her in the car. And naturally the doors would be unlocked because how did he get into the driver's side? Too bad she didn't think to lock the door. I didn't even think about that yesterday. Too bad she could have locked the door. Jumped over to the driver's side and locked the door before he would even be able to get in the car. And naturally he would draw attention, then banging on the car windows trying to get her to open the door. I bet none of you thought about that. This lady could have possibly lived. But we don't know her state of mind, what she was thinking, if he subdued her before putting her into the passenger seat. But I would think she was possibly alive when he pushed her in that car because it's on camera saying it was a violent struggle. So I don't think he'd be stupid enough to try to hit her outside knowing he could draw attention. But did he have a weapon while he was trying to push her into that car? Did he run up to her and hit her with something? A gun, his fist. So she was limp. He threw her in. She couldn't respond to jump back out of the car or lock the driver's side door and all the doors inside of the car, unfortunately. Phone pings led to the discovery of Liza Fletcher, obviously. That's what's been mentioned in this commentary by Newsweek. Reporters have gone to the address in Waterstone Oakway, and Gwendolyn Brown says she's upset and has not given any more commentary pertaining to this storyline of Mr. Abston. And as I said in my commentary yesterday, how long has she known him? How long has she dated him? How long had he been staying in the house with her? Because they didn't specify if she was a sister, mother, cousin, or girlfriend, wife. So I'm going to assume it's a lady friend. So if it's a lady friend, how long did he know her? How long had he been living there? How did they meet? Did they meet online? Did they meet a friend of a friend? Was he incarcerated when they met? Because a lot of women do talk to men who are locked up. They reach out to random strangers on social media, friends of a friend. They talk, then boom, get out. And naturally, if you're paroled, I'm not saying he was paroled, but just saying if you're paroled, you need a place to stay. And that's why a lot of these men look for women, look for unwilling victims to take them in. But they have no intention of doing right. And men do that when they haven't been locked up. The dump site of this young lady, 7 miles from the University of Memphis campus. Why did he choose this location? A location that's only 100 yards away from his brother's apartment. You have to admit there's some type of weird irony even in this. Why did he drive on that side of the town to dump the body? And then it's right behind the damn apartment complex where his brother lives. And then he goes to the apartment complex after having his way with this woman, killing this woman, and attempts to wash bloody clothes in a sink. And he's bare feet. Will the brother be brought up on charges? Because as I said, him and that woman knew he had done something, but they never called 911. And if I'm to believe the allegations that he was arrested later that night or Saturday, whichever one is the truth, you had ample enough time to call the law and say, hey, my brother just left here. He's done something terrible. You need to go to his house. So what led police to Mario's apartment? I haven't heard that yet in any of the commentary that I've read or watched in the YouTube queue. Why did police go to Mario's apartment? Has he used his address before? Because why did they go there? Why did they go there? But they say eyewitnesses say they saw him cleaning the truck. So is this the brother and the girlfriend or other people living in the apartment complex where Mario lived? Very strange. Very strange indeed. 20 minutes lied in wait. Why? Is this personal? Is this racial? They're saying this is an isolated incident, law officials. Why was the rush for the DNA? Is this because she was a white woman? Many people are going to ask, especially black people. Was it her status, who she is, her race, the fact she comes from a wealthy family, the fact this happened on the University of Memphis campus, the fact that there was surveillance to show a black man pushing her in a truck, the fact that he left flip-flops behind, her phone and water bottle were left behind. This was the rush to get the DNA. Let's say he had not left the flip-flops behind. Let's say there was no working cameras where he took her, then you would have had nothing to go on. So is this the reason why there was a rush to have the TBI, FBI involved? It's because there was evidence left behind by the suspect, such as his shoes and video surveillance. So if you scratch the flip-flops and the surveillance, you wouldn't have had a black truck, you wouldn't have had a partial plate, and you wouldn't have DNA to link him, because 9 times out of 10, his DNA is in the CODIS database. And is it also a main factor that she's Caucasian, wealthy, on a campus, visible in the community, and that was the rush to check everything out. Canines, helicopters involved in this investigation. But what about the other missing people in Tennessee, America, white, black, Indian? Why haven't they got this much coverage? We're going to ask that, and I'll possibly bring content pertaining to African Americans missing in this country and them not getting the fair shake of coverage missing. Because I don't think Chad Carr had anybody in the sky looking for him. And I do not believe there were any canines involved in his disappearance. And it looks like he went missing right on the property of the halfway house where he lived. In a white community, mind you. Rural community, Clinton, Tennessee. Is this preferential treatment because she's a Caucasian woman? I ask these questions because it's valid. We know it takes months for DNA testing due to backlogs in labs. Once again, what's her status and race? The rush to test DNA off the flip-flops. Because as I said, had Mr. Abston not left those shoes, you wouldn't have had anything to test. Had there not been surveillance, you wouldn't have had an ID on an SUV. Stay woke. No manner of death as of yet. No other arrests have been made in this case besides Mr. Abston. The suspect is not cooperating, not talking, but they're working with him. And this investigation is still ongoing. Will there be more arrests in this case? We now know how they found her, pings from the suspect's phone. Did he want to go back to jail? Because one would have to ask, Mr. Abston, what the hell were you thinking by stalking this woman, lying in wait, kidnapping her, playing funny games with her, and then killing her in a property near your brother's apartment, going into your brother's apartment, leaving behind your shoes, being on a surveillance camera on the campus, using somebody else's truck to commit a heinous crime? What in the hell were you thinking? You obviously wanted to go back to penitentiary. Why not? Because you've been there and you're conditioned. And this thing about he should have done more time, I don't think it would have mattered had he done the entire 24 years. What's 4 years when the mind is tainted? See, that's the thing some of you don't think about when you speak. I don't think it would have mattered if he had done 4 more years in penitentiary. I believe his mind would have still been tainted. He would have still been the same Cleotha, Pookie, Abston, period. He would have still committed this crime 4 years away. It may not have been Mrs. Fletcher, but it would have been some woman, some random woman. If we would have believed this is a random crime, it would have been some random woman. White? I don't know. Because I don't know what motivation made him commit this crime against a Caucasian woman. But nonetheless, it would have been a woman because he obviously has some deep-rooted hate for women, some type of sick sexual desires, pent-up anger, pent-up sexual needs, which led to this crime. And it has always been said that rape is a form of control by men. But as I told you, I also believe sex plays a role too, if indeed the victim is sexually assaulted. Now, as in the case with Mr. Little, Samuel Little, he really didn't care for the sex. He made that commentary to the police, detectives investigating him. He just cared about choking a woman out. That was his fascination. Sometimes he didn't even get to sex because he was too eager to choke a woman. Fascinated with the woman's neck since childhood. You see, each sadist is different. We don't know Mr. Cleotha because he went in the system as a child. So he really doesn't have an identity. But being a convicted felon from childhood is his identity. And now he has a new label, murderer, by his own choice. $10,000 bond for the theft and identity fraud charges have been added on. The judge officiating is a Caucasian male. He will go before that same judge tomorrow morning for added charges of murder and theft of a debit card, identity fraud. He's been appointed a public defender. He's been charged with premeditated murder. And murder and the perpetration of kidnap. The gag order was mentioned in court, but the judge said we'll address that later. Any provisions to a bond decrease or increase is to be put in writing before the judge. Mr. Abston was looking stupid in court, looking around as if he was bored, like they were bothering him, taking up his time. The judge also mentioned no oral motions in court because it was just an arraignment. They can do all that tomorrow. He wanted everything put in writing pertaining to any motions, and then he will make rulings tomorrow in court, starting at 9 a.m. I wanted to make sure I touched on everything pertaining to this case of Liza Fletcher. And I do believe I did my best to bring you this information with a reliable source. And in the end, you're entitled to your opinion of what you believe happened Friday. The motive, will it matter? Was this crime random? Was she an intended target? Was this a personal target to get back at anybody affiliated with lawyer number one that he kidnapped, the law firm, or as officials are saying and the state are saying, this is isolated. So I'm assuming they went through computers and iPads from her home belonging to she and the husband. They've gone through the cell phone of Mr. Abston, Pookie, and they've come to the conclusion that the two did not know each other. There were no references in any personal devices that they knew each other. No rants from Mr. Abston about lawyer number one that he kidnapped, the law firm, Mr. Meany, her uncle, or she. So in the end, somebody was going to be dead Friday. How about that? It just so happened to be Liza Fletcher. When I looked at him stand in court today, it was just sickening and amazing how he stood there as if he had done nothing to this woman, her children, her husband, family. He didn't care. Because you see, Mr. Abston is institutionalized mentally. So he doesn't have anything in him, such as empathy. Now, there are many people who have committed crimes such as kidnapping, theft, robbery, and they've learned from their mistakes. And they have apologized to their victims. And they've moved on to greener pastures. They've done something with their lives. Some have even become professionals, gone to school, gotten degrees. They made something out of their lives. They've set an example that you can turn your life around from a very bad decision. But Mr. Abston has chose to ride the ride all the way out, which took him right back to a jail cell and eventually penitentiary. Do you think kidnapping should be an automatic life sentence? Because you see, in this case, he didn't learn a lesson. And as I said, it wouldn't have mattered if he had done all 24 years. He was going to come out being Pookie, the rapist, kidnapper, murderer. I think that's been proven. Why he became this person to end up kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder is beyond any type of interpretation, reasoning I have. Because I don't know him. But yes, he's done this before. But he was also a child when he did that. So you would want and hope he would do better, be better, change his ways. But perhaps he became more tainted while incarcerated, because you know he was in there with the worst of man. And he saw and heard things that probably nobody ever wants to hear and see and witness inside of a penitentiary. You know there was male-on-male sex, male-on-male rape, nasty conversations between men, hearing their war stories, violence against inmates in there. He was already tainted when he went in. And instead of him trying to redeem himself, get any type of mental health counseling, he came out worse than he went in. And that's the problem with these offenders. If they do not seek mental help, if the prison doesn't offer any help for those who will be allotted the opportunity to get out of there, it's a waste of time. letting them out because they will only go back in. But it is a choice to go back in. Let's make that clear. Pookie didn't have to kidnap that woman, kill that woman. That was his choice. He could have came out here, took a trade, enrolled in some type of schooling, and bettered himself. He could have made atonement for what he did to that lawyer. And I wonder if he ever apologized to him. And as the man said in commentary to a newspaper many years ago, had I not been able to go into that store, I know that he and those guys would have killed me. Where is that so-called friend who rode the ride that he still speaks to? How does he feel now knowing his friend is back in jail for kidnapping, murder, and theft? What is he doing with himself? Has he redeemed himself? And where's the other guy who rode the ride in the car afterwards, back in 2000? Where are those other two cohorts? And what is going to become of the cross-country team, women in Memphis and around the world? Will you all continue to run in the wee hour mornings? Will you all continue to run alone? Will you take better precautions in being out by yourself? Because you can be a victim anywhere. Running, walking, hopping, skipping, and even in your own home. Because as I said, the devil needs no permission to use a being to play dirty deeds. Just so happened, the Reaper found Mrs. Fletcher at 4 a.m. running on the University of Memphis campus. But as I said, had it not been Mrs. Fletcher, it would have been somebody that Friday morning. Will other Americans get the same treatment when they go missing if evidentiary materials have been left behind that can lead to their abductor/killer? Will law enforcement put more manpower, foot power into finding abductors of African American people? Native Indian people? Will the same effort be put forward? Because as I said, there are many missing people in this country, many missing Black people, children in this country, and they have not had a fair shake. And I say this because it's the truth and it needs to be said, that there are many people missing and they do not get the national, local coverage they so rightfully deserve. And I do not wish this on anyone, man, woman, or child, to go missing and to be later found deceased. And the funny thing about this story, not funny, but strange, is that when a perpetrator is not involved with the victim, does not know the victim doesn't know the perpetrator, it doesn't matter where you discard the body because you don't think that you could be tied into the crime as the perpetrator. So I find it interesting her body was found behind a duplex that was vacant. That leads me to believe he took her back there to assault her sexually in privacy, if you get my drift. Because so long as nobody knows I know the victim, I can discard them anywhere. What difference does it make? That's the very reason why when people are assaulted in their homes by a stranger, he leaves them there. He has no reason to take their body out. And the only time you find a body out in the wilderness, rural areas, dumped in a lake, ocean, dismembered, is because the suspect is close to the victim, such as friend, neighbor, spouse, lover, child. Strangers have no reason to discard bodies because they feel like nobody knows that I know them. I don't know them, so I don't need to go through the trouble of discarding their body. This is a sad story. And frankly, there will be another story, because there will always be a perpetrator. There will always be a victim. So long as we have tainted minds, empty vessels, soulless beings roaming the earth. And I pray for the safety of children, women, and men, because anybody can be a victim of a heinous crime. And do not think it cannot happen to you, because who are you for it not to happen to? And as I said yesterday, before there was confirmation that the body was Liza Fletcher's, I told the chat, it doesn't really matter. It's somebody's body. If it's not hers, it's somebody's body. And they didn't belong out there. Will Mario Abston and his female companion be brought up on charges of accessory after the fact because they did not call law officials to notify them that the brother had been into some type of altercation and or full knowledge that he harmed an individual? Did he tell them that he murdered this woman, kidnapped her and murdered her? Did he tell them that he dumped the body only yards away from his apartment door? What all did he discard on that fateful morning? Did he throw away evidentiary material in that dumpster outside of Mario's apartment? What will they find in the dumpster? Did he take the victim out of the SUV and assault her in the abandoned property? Or did he assault her in the car? What all will be found inside of the SUV? And how will this woman feel getting that SUV back when forensics decides to return the truck? Will she want to keep it? Why would she want to keep it? Has he talked to her since being arrested, Mr. Abston? What has he told her if he has talked to her? Will he continue to talk to her, and will she continue to talk to him? Does she believe all of the allegations against Mr. Abston of kidnapping, murder, and theft? Will she continue to support him? Because I'd like to know if he's talked to her and told her the truth of what he did on Friday morning to Liza Fletcher. Has he told anybody else what he has done to Liza Fletcher? And will he cooperate with the police and fully give a statement to what happened Friday morning and what led him to hunt down this woman for no damn reason? And does he have remorse now for killing Liza Fletcher? Or is he just an empty being who's been institutionalized so long he doesn't know anything, right from wrong? Because maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he gave up in that prison cell many years ago and just wanted to get out. But he had no intention of doing right once released. And I asked you all earlier, do you believe Cleotha wanted to go back to prison? Perhaps out here was too hard, because in 20 years, you've missed a lot in the world. And I would assume adjusting would be very, very hard to do. Did he actually have support from friends and family when he got out? Because you heard him talk very nastily about people asking about him to the family while he was incarcerated. And he used very derogatory language. But the thing people don't understand is that, one, you was a child when you went in, and people change from 16 to 38, 35 years of age. People move on. And everybody's not going to lie in wait while you do your time. So was he bitter and angry for being in there so long, mad at the world because he made a foolish mistake by kidnapping a man? Possibly mad at the white man. He put me here. I'm in here because of him. But no, you put yourself there. Was he angry with the world? Did he see that in Liza Fletcher last Friday? He needed a victim. He needed someone to blame. He needed a punching bag. He needed to vent. Or is it just he's been sick a long, long time? And the more he stayed in that penitentiary, the worse he became. By all accounts, Cleotha Pookie Abston is a monster. And there is no turning back now. There is no redo. There is no makeover. He signed away his rights to a cohesive living the day he hunted that woman down, kidnapped her, assaulted her, and murdered her. That was Pookie's choice. Nobody told him to commit this crime. If you'd like to donate to this great network, Everyday Shenanigans, $BigAngie129 Cash App. Thank you for your time. God bless you. Have a safe week. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Please be aware of your surroundings when you are out, ladies. Take great caution in dealing with strangers, even people that you know. Know that once a door is closed, it is closed, and that you may not be able to come back out. Whether it be a home door, visiting someone, or a car door. And the key to not being abducted is to not get in the vehicle with the perpetrator, if you can, and use all means necessary. Please carry protection when you are out, especially alone and in the dark. My best advice is that you get you a weapon or pepper spray. It may just save your life. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans.